I don't know, Glenn. The shirts makes me look like a priest. Do you think so? I mean, I won't ask you to suck my tongue or anything. That's just not right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Giulio Show. And it's a pleasure to see you. It's been a hot minute since we've connected. And I actually wanted to take this time to talk to you personally. Our guest that was supposed to be on today had an emergency come up, but I said, you know what? Let me take this moment to introduce myself because a lot of people always ask, who are you and what is your show all about? Well, it's not about money. I can tell you that for sure, because I don't expect money. I'm doing this because I want to. I've had such great opportunities in my life coming from a different country and struggling quite a bit that it's always been mission of mine, a mission of mine to help others and not have them go through the same struggles or low self esteem or insecurities that I had to go through. But I hope you'll join me in my podcast. You'll see the links to the YouTube, become a subscriber, or just to jump in and see what we're talking about. The podcast is nothing to do with about controversial or political, or it's just conversations about people's success, people's failures, and how they overcome with that, and it just good old conversation of anything. So anything can happen. But a little about me is I came from another country when I was about 4.5 years old. I come from Italy. My parents immigrated over from Europe to give their family, their kids, a better life, more opportunity. When we got here, we came with nothing, but basically a dream. No money. We didn't have a silver spoon, a shovel, but not a silver spoon, because we had to work a lot. But coming in at 4 years old, I didn't really 4.5 years old, I didn't really know what was going on. I know I got on this big tube. It seemed to bounce up and down a lot. Um, and then we just landed in this foreign place where I went from understanding people, understanding my surroundings, my culture, to what is going on. What are they saying? What's happening? But at the airport, when we landed in New York, we were greeted by our relatives and everyone there. And here's this 4.5-year-old, just off the wall, crazy nut boy who was running all over the airport, causing problems. And they knew right away they had their hands full. But I started school after the summer when we landed, and I got into first grade. Hey, what an accomplishment. Not actually first grade, kindergarten, where I absolutely did not understand the kids nor the teachers. I didn't understand anything they were saying or asking me to do, which, what happens in that case. You get in trouble a lot. I even had one point where I remember my kindergarten teacher her name was Miss Harlow, and I couldn't express to her that I had to go to the bathroom. I kept saying, "Baño, devo andare al bagno," and she would look at me and say, "Speak English. I don't know what you're saying." And I'm holding my wee wee, going, "I gotta go to the baño." I mean, that should have been sign language enough to say he's got a problem down there. But she still wouldn't let me go because she wanted me to speak English. Didn't know what the word for bathroom was, so I went right there in front of her in my pants, just peed all over the floor. And thank God the bell rang because I lived right down the block from my elementary school, and I ran home and hid in embarrassment. But anyway, I made it through kindergarten without understanding anything. Not a ABC, not a 1, 2, 3, nothing. And I got into the first grade. Woohoo! What an accomplishment. I didn't know it was first grade, but I got there. At this time, I'm learning a couple of words, but unfortunately, at first grade, I still didn't understand and couldn't comprehend what they were teaching. Matter of fact, when the year was done in first grade, I remember sitting because we had the year after. when we finished first grade, we had to come to our original classroom, and then everybody would go to the next grade. I remember everybody getting up to go to the next class, and my teacher held her hand up and told me to sit back down. Now, I thought she just liked me. I'm like, "Ooh, she wants to keep me. She must like me. She wants to keep me for another year." I didn't realize what was happening till the next class walked in, and the first kid that walked in, which turned out to be a great friend of mine, but he started laughing at me, and I heard the word failure. "You failed. You're a failure." And all the other kids were laughing. Uh, I knew at that point, I think something was wrong because my other classmates went on. I stayed back. Uh, but still, unfortunately, I still couldn't comprehend, but they passed me on to the 3rd grade, where I got in more trouble. I got my hair from then on in, from 3rd grade all the way through high school, I got my hair pulled, I got kicked out in the hallway. I learned the word "you're stupid," "you're dumb," "you're a failure," "you'll never contribute to society." So as I learned English a little bit more, I learned more of the slang English, but I picked up those words pretty quick because the look on their face was like, "You're going to amount to nothing," uh, which gave me a low self esteem. But they kept passing me anyway. I think they just wanted me out. And even by the time I graduated high school, I didn't read or write, but I hid that very well. What I did do is gather some gifts of being a good listener, understand what they were talking about. So if they read a book and discussed it in class, I could tell you about Romeo and Juliet, but I never read it because they would discuss it and I would just know it from memory. But I failed every test because I couldn't read. And back then we didn't know about ADHD or dyslexia. Wasn't diagnosed till I was about in my 30s, which explained a lot. Because the first thing they asked me was, "How were you as a student?" I said, "Absent." Physically and mentally, and they're like, "Yeah, that explains a lot." So I had to learn to deal with a lot of those, what I call now gifts. People call them learning disabilities. I call them gifts because I think when you lack in a certain area, you pick up other things in other areas that make you even more brilliant. But after completing high school, don't ask me how, I got to graduate, and my parents had high hopes for college. And I'm like, I don't think that's gonna happen. I did sign up to a community college. They signed me up for special classes because I couldn't pass their test. I made it the first day into the classroom and was totally blown away. I mean, it was already bad enough in high school, I couldn't understand the phonics. I mean, they would confuse the English language is so confusing, probably more now than ever, as I'm starting to learn, how to speak proper English. These new words, these new descriptions and pronouns are throwing me even for more of a loop than I've ever been before. But, I would sit in class and they would say, the F makes the f sound. Cool. So then they put phone, the word phone on the board, and they said PHONE spells phone. And I'm like, no, that doesn't. That spells Pahony. And they're like, "Julio, get out of the class," because they thought I was being a wise guy, but I wasn't. I mean, I said to him, "Excuse me, but why are the PH making the F sound?" And they said, "Well, that's just the way it is." I said, "Why don't you just use the F?" And again, I was told to get out. So that was my confusion. So you could imagine what the first day of college was like when they threw everything up on that board like a beautiful mind. I was like, whoa. So when the class was done, I went to the game room and I met some people, and that's where I hung out for the next few weeks. Made some friends, went to the mixers, and finally had to come to the conclusion that this is not going to work. I'm not made for college. My brother was in college; he was going to med school. I was the last of the all four of the children, and they did pretty good. I obviously had some challenges, so I figured maybe I'll try for the Marines or something like that. And I went to the recruiter and failed that test too. I'm willing to get shot. I'm willing to fight for the country, but I couldn't even do that because I couldn't pass the test. So I didn't make it into the service. So my mother looked at me and she said, "You have a gift. You don't know it yet, but you do. But you're going to do something. If it's not college, you're going to do a trade." I'm like, okay, whatever. At that time, you don't, fight with mama. You listen to her, she'll beat you to hell with that spoon. And my father was pretty good with the belt. So she said, "You're going to beauty school." And I was just like that little puppy and went, "What, beauty school? I mean, I've never touched a roller. I don't know anything about hair." But I took the tour anyway of the beauty school. Now, I have to admit, the only reason I signed up for beauty school is there was quite a bit of beauty in the school, which was the motivation to go. But when I started attending, I understood I had a gift I did not know I had. Never thought about it in a million years, and I was good at it. So I stuck with it and I got more and more involved with it and more of a passion. Even though I was still off on the reading and the writing, I didn't understand some things. It still took time. I had to do a lot of work in that industry. So I put my mind to it that I am going to figure out how I can learn. Now, I know a lot of you always use excuses of why you can't learn, but where there's a will, there's a way. You just got to put your mind to it and want to do it. And that's what I did with hair. I said, I want to know the terminology. I want to know the chemistry in this. I want to know this field really good because I am good at it. I just need to understand it. And so I discovered that I wasn't dumb and I wasn't stupid. I discovered how I learned, not how I was smart, but how I could learn. So it's never about how smart you are, it's how you are smart. So I figured out every way and hooked up with the greatest, mentors to learn this field even better and really tried to understand in my own way what certain things meant and how to apply that. And as I started to do that, I started to grow and I started to become very successful. By the age of 21, I owned my own salon. I was doing extremely well, but I still lived with a mind of insecurity, a low self-esteem because I was always called stupid and dumb and you'll never make it through life. You'll probably end up behind bars. Well, I did once, but we'll talk about that later. Just never carry a gun to an airport. They don't really like that. But anyway, it was expunged because I was a concealed license owner. But it took about $10,000 to get out of that. Anyway, going back to that, I still had the insecurities. A lot of people who knew me through my childhood knew that I was a fun guy. They didn't know my inner demons, my inner insecurities, my low self esteem. They just knew that Julio was a funny guy because that's how I got away with everything. I was just a funny guy. I made people laugh. I helped people. I was friends with everyone. I mean, it didn't matter who you were, where you came from, what your race, what your gender. It didn't matter to me. You were my friend. And I was going to make sure you were happy, safe, and loved because that's all I had to give. I could not read you a story or read you a letter, but I could give you my love. So anyway, that's I think what helped me in the beauty industry as well is because I gave people my attention, my love. I cared for them. I wanted to give them the best. I wanted to know that they've been heard and they're getting what they want or understand what they're getting. And then as I started to learn more, I got involved with Paul Mitchell, who needed educators to travel the world and show people the latest and the greatest. So I figured, hey, I've seen some platform artists. I said, I can do that. I can accomplish that. And they were great because they never laughed at me, even though I was such ADHD and never took good notes. But they took the time to help me, to guide me, to mentor me. And from there, I went on to grow to be a great platform artist. I traveled all over the world, was able to share all the greatest and latest in fashion and beauty, um, and got to work with some great celebrities and runway models. And I'm not telling you all this to impress you, but to impress upon you what is possible, what can happen when you truly fall in love with something and have a purpose and you really commit yourself to understanding it. So nothing is impossible. I hear that so much right now. People are like, well, I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't have money to do this. I didn't have money. I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to write, but I never used it as an excuse. I did whatever it took that so that I can help others. And I knew that by helping others, money would be the applaud for the great job that I've done, but never did I focus on the money. I always focused on how can I give others what was not given to me. And I vowed that to make that my mission and my purpose, that everything I learned, I was going to share with other people that had the same challenges that I did. People didn't believe in them, but I did. I know they could. And I know you still can. Sometimes when you doubt yourself, don't. Uh, Forgive yourself for the past and understand that there's a brightness ahead of you. There's a bright future if you just believe in it and take your time. It's a lot of people want to just jump in a microwave and want it tomorrow. Hey, hop on the turtle, man. It's going to be a slow ride, but you'll get there. There's an old joke that says, what did the snail say when she was riding the turtle? Wee! So that's the same thing. Enjoy the journey. It might be slow, it might be hard. You might have to put a little bit of extra work into it. And here's the thing, I didn't do everything perfectly as I was learning, as I was moving forward, as I was a platform artist, as I traveled the world. Matter of fact, my greatest gifts were my greatest failures. I failed a lot, but I didn't stop. That was the key. We are going to fail at things. We are, and I'd like to say we'll make discoveries. We're all going to make discoveries, but that's what makes us smarter, stronger, as long as we don't keep repeating the same discovery over and over again. And believe me, I can tell you many discoveries I've made, um, starting with the insecurities and making money. As soon as I started making money and insecurities, I still wanted friends. So I got involved with the drugs and got into an addiction at the age of in the early 20s. Um, I never really cared for the drug cocaine. I just loved the smell of it at the time. But anyway, uh, I joke about it because I can now. I learned a lot from that. I made huge discoveries. I went broke. I went bankrupt, lost everything. And when you have money, you have friends, you have relatives you didn't even know you had. And all of a sudden, when you don't have money, and you're in trouble, all of a sudden you don't have friends. You don't have those relatives you thought you were related to. Everybody abandons you. So I had to start over and rebuild myself. And that wasn't the first time. I've made so many mistakes after that as well. But I think God gifts us with certain discoveries so that we can experience it, build from it, grow from it, and be a witness to others of how they can change their lives no matter what they've been through, no matter what they experienced, no matter how many discoveries, you can still get back up. Now, when I fall, and we're always going to fall, I don't get up right away because people say, hey, when you trip, get right back up. No, I don't do that. I sit there for a while. I think about how I tripped, how I fell, what happened. And once I understand it, then I get back up and I approach the walk in a different way. So thanks to Paul Mitchell for entrusting me with going out and allowing me to make discoveries and helping me through those discoveries to make me the person I am today. But as I was doing those shows, I also got calls from people that says, "Hey, could you come and speak?" And I'm like, "But I'm not a speaker. I have no idea of what to say or do as a speaker." They said, Say what you do, what your failures were, what your success was." And I said, "Okay." And as I start to do that, I start to build quite the reputation as a speaker. And now I've gotten better at that, and I'm still learning. Once again, I still take notes. I still have coaches. I still have people who help me. We never stop learning. And last week, I had dinner with John Maxwell as we did a roundtable event, and I went up to him. I said, "I'm still hungry. I still need to learn a lot. I still want to give more. I know there's something bigger for me out there." And he said, "Julio, what you're doing is a journey. It's not a destination. If you're always on the journey, you will always grow. But if you get to your destination, you'll just get comfortable, sit back, and it's ended." And boy, that made sense. It's okay to be hungry. It's okay to want. And I'm sharing these stories with you, and I could share a lot more stories with you. But I guess what it really comes down to is stop making excuses. Um, Accept your failures, but not as the end game, as a learning curve. and move forward and keep going. I remember when I came to when I had my own salon, that was great. I discovered, some things about money and taxes I didn't know about, but I ended up paying them. So I was tax stupid. I was not smart about that, but I ended up meeting people who helped me with that. But eventually, I always wanted to own a school. Why? Because I wanted to help other people grow, other people understand. And Paul Mitchell announced that they were going to start opening schools. And I said, geez, I got to be a part of this. And I was one of the first schools that opened up. I think the first one up in Costa Mesa, second one was in Rhode Island, and I was the third one because I had some setbacks. And here's why I had the setbacks. I'm the kind of kid that doesn't take no for an answer. But anyway, I lived in upstate New York, but I've always wanted to move to Florida. I love the sunshine, I love the good weather, but that was a dream of mine. And I used to take money I didn't have, and I would charge a flight to Florida, stay at the local Holiday Inn, and just hang out for a couple days, and pictured myself living there. Because to think about it and not act upon it, sometimes your dreams don't happen. But if you just make the move and go visit it and go feel it, you'll want it even more. Somebody said that, if you want to own the island, row the boat there, then burn the boat because then you can't turn back. So that's what I did. I left New York, came down to Florida. I had no building, no money, uh, and I said, "I'm gonna make it happen here." Now, I hear that a lot too. People are like, "Oh, I wish I could live here. I wish I could live there. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that." Stop wishing and just do it. I mean, when you're desperate, you'll make things happen. And so when I got down there, I had no building. I had found an apartment, but I had no money, so I had to start doing something. I borrowed a little here and there just to get going, and believe it or not, I already had a family. I had two boys that were very very young, and I was married. And I told them that I found a building. I lied. So they packed up everything and moved to Florida. Now, in Florida, it took me 2 years before I could even find a building. And they told me that if you build a school, it'll take $250,000. I'm like, oh, not bad. I could do that. I said yes. I didn't even have $2.50 to my name. But I knew if I knocked on enough doors, somebody would help me. And I love these people that say, well, I did it myself. I'm self made. No, somebody helped you along the way, whether they supported you, whether they helped you financially, whether they helped you mentally. But we never do it alone. Even if you did it with God, you didn't do it alone. You did it with your spiritual power. So the thing is, I ended up raising 250, no, just 200,000. I needed 50 more. But anyway, when I got finally a building and I got the architect to draw the building out, they were like, "Well, this is going to be about a $2 million job." And I'm like, "What? I thought it was only going to cost 250,000. Now I got to come up with 2 million almost." So I kind of started to freak out, but it didn't stop me. So I negotiated any which way I could. I just kept bringing scenarios from every side of the field because there's no way I'm going to give up on this. I'm going to figure out a way to do this legally. So when you want something bad enough, and all of you have wanted something bad enough where you got it, even if it was money for a little bit of gas, you turned over every couch pillow just so you can find some spare change and come up with a few dollars so you can put some gas in your car. So, today we figure out a way. So funny. I meet so many people and, they'll tell me they have no money, but they have a pack of cigarettes, which cost them $10 in their pocket. They have a Starbucks in their hand and they have the best sneakers on. And I'm like, well, if you have no money, how did you get and how do you get what you have now? But I never used that as an excuse. So I negotiated in any which way I can. And finally the landlord looked at me and says, well, you know what we could do? We'll do the build out for you and we'll just amortize it throughout your 10-year lease. And I'm like, sounds good to me. But I went back and asked a lot of questions because I didn't know what amortization meant. I didn't know what TIs meant. I didn't know what quantified meant. So I started asking questions and I started learning. Amortizing means that they'll just take that loan and spread it out over the 10 years into the base rent, and it'll cover the money they gave you to do the build out. Wow. I didn't even know that existed. But anyway, I opened up this 23,000 square foot school, state of the art. I mean, even when Paul Mitchell walked in, they were like, wow, you know, uh, the end result was just amazing. And from there, I just took off. And next thing I know, I turn around and I have several schools throughout the country, um, a multiple school owner, educator, speaker, coach, trainer. Uh, but again, the message there is when you want something, no just means no on dating. Sometimes when you hear no, it's just not yet. And sometimes the no's are great at that moment because there's something better waiting for you. God has a better plan for you, has a different place for you because every place I went to that said no, I thank God I never got that place because I ended up in the place that gave me the opportunity and gave me the best building. So don't give up just because you heard one no. Keep going, keep figuring out different ways to approach it. If you want something bad enough, you will have it. You know, I I made it a mission to help others, and I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your questions, or I would, with the wisdom and knowledge and all of the discoveries and failures that I've made and had to correct, I've gotten some good wisdom. So, if there's anything I could ever do to help any of you, please feel free to email me. You'll see that on the bottom with any questions or any thoughts that you may have that I could share with you. Now, we went through a lot of good years in the beauty industry, and when there's been different occasions that happen throughout the years where we've been really good, we've fallen low in enrollment and so on and so forth due to the economy, but there hasn't been anything worse than 2020 and in 2019 when they announced COVID. Um, Many people just gave up, uh, sat back in their chair, threw their hands up in the air, and said, "That's it." I guess I wasn't made that way. I refused to sit back. Yes, we were shut down, but why we were shut down? What can I do to figure out how can we reopen safely and keep everyone safe and be more productive than we ever were, rather than be told that this is the end of the world, which they were telling people. Um, and people were believing it and acting that way, and all these conspiracy theories. And so I just went online because I was at home. I signed on to John Hopkins, took the contact tracing and epidemiology course. Now I have to keep watching these courses over and over again because it takes time for me to understand it. But I learned about COVID and how it spreads and how it works to the point that I was able to write a list, or let's say a pamphlet of how to reopen safely to keep the staff safe, to keep the students safe, to keep the guests safe, because I don't give up. Matter of fact, remember in the beginning I told you, I couldn't get into college. Well, as I did great in this industry and made some money, I challenged myself and I applied to a college later on in 2013. And I said, you know what? I'm going to apply to Harvard in their executive MBA program and let's see what happens. Sure enough, I get a letter and I was accepted. I was like, wow, somebody must be drunk. They accepted me into Harvard executive, MBA program. I'm going. Uh, Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't do this to impress you, to impress my mom, to impress anybody. I did it for whom? For me only. And I graduated, paid off my college, and graduated in 2015 and got my degree from Harvard. Now, do I go around and use that as my stepping stone? No. My stepping stone was hair industry and what I've learned and the discoveries that I've made. I'll be honest with you. I learned a lot at Harvard. I've learned a lot in the hair industry, but true life experience taught me more than any school could ever teach me. Failures taught me more than any school could ever teach me. But one thing I really learned the most is first understanding who I am. And believe it or not, I met a friend of mine who was a speaker. Her name was Kitty Victor. I met her one day, and for some reason, she comes out, and I don't know if she had a printing machine in the back or whatever, but she came out with a Bible, and in gold was inscribed to my name. And she hands it to me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what does she think about me? Does she think I need help?" Because I was always a spiritual man, but I'm like, why is she giving me this book? And there was two things that stood out. The first page I turned to was he fed his people, and a light bulb went off. Is that's what I do. It's not about my ego. It's not about what I know. It's not about the talent. It's not about the success, but it's about feeding the people, feeding them information to learn and grow and become just as self-assurance and successful, because success can mean many things to many people, but to me success means happy, because when you achieve certain goals you're happy. And the other thing I read is, and I also saw it in the movie of the 10 commandments, when God said, when he said, who are you, and he said, I am. um wow, those words just stuck. I am, that's all he had to say. But he said, I am who I am, but I am. And I sat back and I made a list of, who am I? It was hard to write at first because I can only think of all the negative things that I was. And then I said, stop, cross that out. Take the time to write some positive things about who you are. Well, I'm a loving person. I am a person who cares for others. I am a good dad. I'm a great dad, actually. I even joked around and put I got a great ass, and I didn't. But whatever it takes, I am a man of faith. And I even write that on my hand. That's my affirmation when I start to feel down. I tattooed on it, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But I had to learn who I was. And once I learned who I was, I had to accept myself. uh, Here's the thing, not everyone is going to love me, and that was the past. Was I wanted everybody to love me, everybody to like me, everybody to respect me. Not everybody. You could do all the right things, you could be Jesus, and you're not going to be loved by all, because what did they do to Jesus? They crucified him, right? People wanted him crucified. The only thing he wanted people to do is love each other, not steal, not kill, not commit adultery. I know I'm getting a little religious on you, but that's just my faith base. Whatever yours is, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you to go into my faith, but that's just what I believe. So I hope you respect that as I respect yours. But I am a great man of faith, and I am a good person, and I am willing to help others no matter what cost, and I never did it for money. Um, and I am who I am. And a lot of kids I talk to today don't know who they are. Matter of fact, they're so mixed up, and they focus on wanting to be accepted because they're gay or non-binary or transgender, or not, they think they're not smart. They come up with all these things. Listen, not everybody is going to accept you for who you are. The most important person that has to accept that is you, and you only. You have to say, this is who I am. I don't have to convince you. I don't have to prove to you. I don't have to preach to you who I am. This is who I am. If I feel like wearing a dress, I'll wear one. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. You'll never know, because that's my business. And am I straight or gay? I used to get that asked a lot, and people were like, "Oh, you're a beauty industry. What are you, gay?" And I'm like, "What are you interested?" If even if I was gay or I am gay, it's my business. It's my life, and I have to accept me. You are beautiful. You are precious. No matter how tall, how short, how thin, how curvy. Uh, Stop picking yourself apart. Know who you are and accept you, because once you accept you, others will accept you. There are people out there who will love you, and the people who don't want to accept you, You don't need to convince them. You don't need to hang with them. You don't need to sit there and have conversations of why you're right. I mean, yes, use your voice, stand up for who you are, but I don't have to convince you to love me. I don't have to convince you to hang out with me. You should because you want to, and you should because you love me for who I am. And once I know who I am, that's who I am. And you're not going to change that. You're not going to convince me any different. You may add some knowledge to me. You maybe give me some things to think about. I'll accept any information anyone gives me. I love knowledge. I can't get enough of it. I'm hungry for it. I do listen to other people's. I do listen, but I don't get tactical on them. I don't get defensive with them. If that's your belief, that's your belief. Good. But don't try to change me. I am who I am, and you are who you are. And that's the first thing you need to do is you need to look in that mirror and you need to know who you are. You need to look at yourself and say, I am beautiful. I am smart. I am wonderful. I'm a great mom. I'm a great dad. Whatever it is, know who you are. And your shoulders will stand straighter and you will walk taller and you will be much more successful when you're focused on the purpose that you have rather than the excuses you have to make for other people to like you. I don't have to go and tell people whether I'm straight, gay, transgender, white, black, because I am a mix of things. But once again, that shouldn't matter. Um, you should love me for who I am. See, beauty is not from the outside, beauty comes from the inside. What we take out of our hearts and our mind and comes out of our mouth. To get tactical is a waste of time. To be strategic is actually better. To sit back and say, is this the moment to attack? It's never the moment to attack. Is Do they have a right to have a voice? Of course they have a right to have a voice. And so do I. But we don't need to hate each other. We don't need to dismiss each other. We can respect each other for our thoughts or who we want to be or what we want to be. But we don't need to hit. I mean, when I was younger, I'll be honest, I was tactical. I had a hot temper. Um, and things didn't always turn out right. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, my words hurt more to other people than my fist did. Maybe I could hit you with a punch, that'll hurt you, but the words that used to come out of my mouth when I got tactical were more damaging. They say sticks and stones may break my bones, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Oh, words hurt worse than sticks and stones so badly that people are taking their own lives because they're being text words and being put down so they commit suicide. Words do hurt. So I've gotten in my life and in my travels and in my growing and in my maturing, I understand that being tactical wasn't the way to go, but being strategic is much better. And you can think smarter and you can live happier. Um, One time somebody told me, "Let the ink dry." And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" They're like, "Sometimes if you wanna respond to a letter," and today it's email or Texas, you're wanting Texas, text messages, you're wanting to respond quickly because 'cause you're angered. Maybe you misread it, or maybe you took it wrong, or maybe somebody did say something wrong, but yet you answer to the point where you just created a bigger mess, not for them, but for yourself, legally or whatever. So they said, before you go ahead and attack, write it down. Don't send it anywhere. Let the ink dry. Then read it again a couple days later and see if that really makes sense to you. Because when we're mad, we can say things that make no sense or can be really hurtful. And I'm glad they taught me that because that's what I do now. Now I take the time to. I do still get angry. I still do get impatient. I mean, I'm normal. I'm just like everybody else. I'm like you. You understand what I'm saying. You've been through it. But don't rush to react. Matter of fact, sometimes I don't even respond to certain text messages because first, it's not worth my time. Secondly, you're not probably going to like what I write, and I might damage or do more damage to myself and my family than I would to the person I'm texting. or emailing. So what I'm saying is understand who you are. Understand other people too. Don't get me wrong, because people have motives to steal your dream, to destroy you, and remember, not everybody is going to have the same dream as you. I mean, I remember when I got in hair, people were like, "Oh, you got a loser job. Oh, well, don't you want something better for your life?" I still hear that now. People are like, the hair industry. These are people that don't even have a job. They went to college and they can't even get a job, and they're saying you're at a dead end job. And I know a lot of hairdressers today that do extremely well, uh, better than, my brother who became a doctor. Actually, he left the medical field and he's like still paying student loans and he's 65. And he looked at me and says, "How the hell did you do it?" And I brought him to a couple of events, and he left the medical field and is now in business with me and having the time of his life. Don't knock somebody else down for their dreams. You had yours too, but don't let anybody else knock you down for your dreams. There are people who are not going to support you, but you know who you are. You know what you want. You know what you want to accomplish. Don't let the dream stealers come in and steal it. You wouldn't allow me to go through your pocketbooks or your wallet and steal money, would you? You wouldn't allow me to steal your car, would you? You wouldn't allow me to come to your house and steal all the hard earned possessions that you have, would you? So don't let somebody steal your dreams. It's yours. Understand how wonderful you are, how brilliant you are, what you have to offer. Now, if it's hair, if it's plumbing, if it's electrical, if it's a doctor, a dentist, whatever it may be, we need all these people. We just don't need a bunch of doctors. Because who's going to help us build our house? Who's going to help us fix our refrigerator? Who's going to help us fix our car? Who's going to help us with our hair? And I know that, it's so funny because the government wants to put all these regulations on the trade schools for profits, but they're the first ones to want a hairdresser to make sure their hair looks good for the camera, to make sure their makeup is done for the camera. And during COVID, when they shut us all down, what were politicians doing? Sneaking into the salons. I've had people come up and tell me what a dead end job is, but how much they spent $600 to get their hair done. It's like, wait, you're preaching to me that I'm in the wrong business, but yet you spent $600 to get your hair done in 2 hours. You got color, you got cut, and you're telling me I'm in a dead end job? Listen, whatever job you take, I'm never going to knock you down for it. I don't care if you're the cashier at the 7-Eleven. That is your choice. That is what you want. That is what you love. Some people don't want to get into being a doctor, an engineer, or a hairdresser, or whatever. They would just want to go to work 9 to 5, do their thing, go home and relax. I respect that. And thank you for doing that because we need people like you. We need people who choose to just want to clean up our buildings. I don't even call them janitors, I call them ambassadors. And every time I see one of those people, I thank them for what they do because if we didn't have those people, we would end up in some pretty nasty, dirty restrooms or restaurants. So they're just as important. Everybody that contributes to this world has an important role. And I say contribute because there's a lot of people who don't even want to contribute anymore. They just want to hide. And mental illness has skyrocketed since COVID, and it's a serious thing. I went through it myself. Actually, even when I went through a coma in '97, I was in a coma for 18 days. I was in a hospital for actually 6 months, in ICU for 3 months. I had to relearn how to use my hands, learn to speak, and they sent me out of the hospital with just a wheelchair, an oxygen tank, and a bunch of medicine, saying, "Good luck." But I didn't give up. I kept on fighting, and I kept on going. To the point where I'm in great shape today. And what they kept calling me Miracle Boy, what they told me I would never do, I am doing. That's because I had a will. But here's the thing: even if I ended up in a wheelchair on oxygen for the rest of my life, um, it's okay. I still would have been around for my kids. My kid just turned 1 and the other one just turned 3. And yes, I did get to a point where I suffered from mental health, post-traumatic stress, and I still do. I take medication. Cymbalta is really a great medication. But anyway, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So mock me all you want, but I know what I have to do to work on my mental health. The gym helps a lot too. But, at one point I want to take my life. It was a stupid thought. But I had to realize that no matter if I was in a wheelchair and going to be on oxygen for the rest of my life, I still had 2 great boys that I wanted them to have a father to be there for them. Maybe I wouldn't be able to throw a baseball, maybe I wouldn't be able to run with them, but I could still be there to mentor them and love them and guide them. And I'm so glad I made the decision not to. And so many of us, going through mental health, a lot of people have taken their lives. Uh, and we need to look out for those signs. We need to take the time and stop and ask people, "Are you okay? Can I help? What can I do to you know be your shoulder, um, or to help you along, to give you a hand up?" Uh, a lot of people don't realize there's people around them that are suffering because they're too busy in their phone and their text messages and so on and so forth. Where they don't even pay attention to their own lover, their own kids. This text message is much more important than you. No, put your phone down, put it away. When you're talking to somebody, be in the moment. You know who you are. You're a wonderful person. You're a lovable person. You're a beautiful person, and you're willing to help others. But you can't do it by keeping your eye on your cell phone while they're talking to you about something they really need, or blowing them off for a phone call when they really desperately need to discuss something with you. Be in the moment. I know I'm going and hopscotching all over the place, but I have so much to share with you, and I want so much to give to you. Um, and I want you to give to me. And that's why I wanna hear from you. But I can keep going on and on, and I'm still in a great place, and we're recovering from this COVID, but we're still in a crazy world, in a world where we need more faith, more love, more acceptance. People are fighting over the silliest of things. What's on a beer can, and I know that matters to a lot of people. If you don't like it, don't buy it. That's just how you do it. You know, you can stay true to your beliefs. If that is your belief, don't buy it. If you want to support that, buy it, you know, but you don't have to sit there and argue about it with somebody over a beer, a watered down beer. There's so many beers out there. You're going to fight about one and destroy many lives. You don't have to wreck buildings, burn down buildings to make a point. um, do it professionally, do it smartly, do it strategically, not tactically. And we're seeing such a divide in our country that we need to see more togetherness, more community, more help. Uh, Help your neighbors. I have never, ever looked at people because of their race, their gender, their social economic background, religion, none of that. I looked at people for who they are and what they are, and they're beautiful and they're wonderful. Yes, there are a few that I have to walk away from because there's just no, you know, talking to them. I remember a Jehovah Witness knocked on our door once, and my mother answered the door. And they wanted to start preaching. And my mother said, "Look, you want to come in for a cup of coffee? And we can talk to each other about anything, but you can only come in if you promise not to push your agenda on me, and I promise not to push my agenda on you. How about that?" And they would come in and they would have coffee. My mother would feed anybody who knocked on that door. Matter of fact, if you showed unexpectedly, you ate. You were forced to eat, no matter if you were full or not, because we accepted everyone. And I think that was the mentors that I had in my life, my mother and my father, who taught us to love and respect and to be honest and to have integrity. I think a lot of that is missing today because a lot of people don't have a lot of people don't have a father. They don't have the loving touch of a mother. They don't have great mentors in their lives. And maybe sometimes we have to be that person to step in for those people who don't have that opportunity, and be their friend and be their mentor because we know who we are. So my message to you, and all of you at this point, is know who you are, accept yourself for who you are, love yourself first, and then you can help other people. Um, it's so important to understand that you have value, that you are precious. And just because somebody else doesn't like you could still love yourself because there are other people who like you. There is someone for everyone out there. But most importantly, I know my God loves me. He made me perfectly. He didn't make mistake. He made me the way I was supposed to be. Uh, the experiences I was supposed to have so that this way I could grow on to help others. So, yes, I am a faith based man. And dang it, as I get older, I get more faithful because I'm getting closer to getting to those gates. Uh, I always find as people get older, we get closer to God because we know our time is coming soon. But not only that, I think I've always had that instilled in me. And people always say, "What is your religion?" It's faith. I don't give it a name, you know? I don't know. I just know that I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. We all have to have something to look up to, and faith is a great thing to believe in because a lot of people today live in fear, and they choose fear over faith. Now, faith doesn't even have to be religious, right? But fear is FEAR, a false evidence appearing real. Doesn't exist, scares you, makes you hide, puts you in a mental jail. Where faith is FIA FIATH, right? Fierce attitude in the heart. I'm dyslexic, so I have to go slow. FAITH. Fierce attitude in the heart. Now, people say, yeah, but how can you believe in something you don't see? Well, let me ask you a question. Can you see the oxygen around you? Can you see the air you breathe? No, but you trust it's there. So you continue to breathe knowing that it's there. Now, I can't see my creator. I hope to one day. But I just have to trust he's there. And the day that I trusted more and more, things just seem to work better because there's a great message, there's a great foundation, there's a great culture, there's a great teachings that are in that book. And if you look at every motivational book out there, they all say the same thing, but in different words, like in their own personality. But where do you think they got those messages? I learned that when I started reading the Bible, I should go to church, shouldn't I? But anyway, when I started reading the Bible, I had a hard time understanding it. So I got the NIV version. But anyway, everything I was reading in there is everything that I've seen in motivational books. And then when I started to talk to some of these people who wrote the books, a lot of them got their inspiration and their words from the Bible. And they translated it to meet whatever industry they're targeting. Isn't that amazing? I just got done watching the season of Chosen, and it helped me understand the verses a lot better. What a great show. I binge watched that show. Now it's not made for everybody. And once again, I'm not trying to push my faith on you, but I'm talking about me. Okay. When you talk about you, I'll respect that too. I want to listen because I have friends of all faith and we share our beliefs and we enjoy it because there's some cool things in their faith. I mean, they don't want to be sucking up to the Dalai Lama, no pun intended. But you get what I'm saying? There's bad apples everywhere. We get it. But listen, when you come from a good foundation, when you come from a good faith base, when you come from a great culture of people around you, you can't help but grow uh, to be better and love yourself better. Hang out with people who tell you how wonderful you are, and you tell them how wonderful they are, and you're honest with them as well. And they're honest with you because they purposely want to see you grow, not that they narcissistically want to hold you back. Because we know a lot of people like that as well, don't we? Um, So I hope some of this information that I shared with you, and I could have gone in depth more, can kind of resonate with you. My thing is, I threw a lot out there, and like I like to say to people, I threw a lot of seeds. Um, Hopefully, maybe one has landed and it'll sprout. If not now, maybe later on. But I guess at the end of the day, the more important thing to know, and I'll wrap it up with this, is know yourself. Love yourself. That's not conceited. Please don't go around going to everybody, I'm great, I'm wonderful, I'm this. That's conceited, okay? But talk to yourself to build your own self esteem and say, you are wonderful. You are beautiful. You are giving. You are a gift from God. What, or I could, whatever it is that it builds your self esteem, because a bully will never approach a person of confidence, shall we say. Okay, a bully will never approach or even attempt to attack a person of confidence. They look for the weak, the meek, the people that are sure of themselves, low self-esteem. That's who they target, and they come in nice, but then it's bad from there on, because abusers look for the weak. If they know you're strong, they won't approach you. Now, if you've been that person of insecurity, stand tall, stand straight, stand proud, because you are wonderful. You're worth every precious thing out there. You are a precious gift. Start standing up to that abuser and say, no more. You're out of here. If you got to get protection, go get it. But stand up. There's 1-800 numbers. There's hotlines that you can call to get that protection that you need. But also, too, there are people you can finally stand up to and say, no, you're not going to treat me this way. I am not your punching bag. I am not the person you're going to abuse. You respect me and I'll respect you. And that's the message you need to get out there. And you'll see that less people will try to control your life. But if you're sitting there going, well, I'm not sure. What should I do? I'm not worthy. Oh, you're going to be headed for some trouble. So, if any advice I can give you is believe in you, believe that you are, and know that you're a true gift from up above, or whatever your religion is. But I know I was given a gift. And also know that you're not perfect. Okay. And you're going to make discoveries. It's a given. Please don't think I'm perfect, because I'm not. I don't know everything. I'm still learning, and I'll never stop learning. I do have some wisdom, some knowledge. And you, no matter what age you are, I know have wisdom and knowledge. And today, kids experience more at the age of 20 than somebody at the age of 50. So they have some, and you have some great knowledge to give us, and especially in this crazy, confused world we live in, which I will not partake in. I will choose to create my own world, my own atmosphere, my own friends, and my own decisions, not what you're telling me. Stay off the news. It's okay to catch up just a little bit, to know a little bit what's going on. And do me another favor, take it seriously and go vote. Okay. If you want to see change, if you have certain beliefs, whatever they may be, I'm not telling you to vote right or left or middle or this or that, and who to go for or not go for. That's your choice. Don't let anybody take your choice from you of who you want to vote for. But the important thing is to vote, to get what you really want to see happen in your life, and the future that you create, maybe the kids that you create for their future. But stand proud, stand tall, and speak your voice, but don't waste your time with ignorance. I thank you for allowing me to share this time with you and give you a little bit of my thoughts. And I have 100 more thoughts and a lot of other things to share, and a lot of silliness within me. But today I just wanted to take the time for you to understand where I'm coming from. I know that at the end of this, some of you will cancel me. I know some of you will sign up and subscribe to my podcast. But guess what? You're not hurting my feelings. So I once again will respect yours. Please email me some questions, and we could put that at the bottom of the page, right? So email, let me know what I can help you with, or even if you want to speak your mind to me, if you disagree with me, um, I'll take it for what it's worth, but I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. So I like to read more positive things and more exciting things, but I'll also, take on a couple challenges if you want. So I'm known to do that once in a while because, once again, I do have a voice, but I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm just going to tell you my beliefs and stick firm to them, unless you can change my mind otherwise. But I don't think you can, especially at my age. But anyway, I wish you all the best. I wish you health, happiness, peace, love, uh, all the great words that you can ever think of. But do me a favor, take the time to understand how beautiful and wonderful you are, and live life to your fullest and be in the moment. Don't worry about yesterday. It's over with. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just stream for it, but be in the moment. Enjoy the moment because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but you know what the moment has. So be in it. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the years. And I hope to see you on my future podcasts and have some great conversation with you. All the best. God bless. Have a great night.